Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Unlimited You. My name is Master Victor, if you don't already know. And in today's episode, we're kind of starting an entirely new book from the podcast that we had before. We're going to be not just talking about martial arts, but applying everything we know, how it all works together to create a harmonious life.
Welcome to the Unlimited You podcast. Believing firmly in the limitless potential that resides within each individual, and embrace the warrior that lies within you.
And talking about Sanatana Dharma. So Sanatana Dharma is kind of the root of Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism. All of those Eastern religions are essentially Sanatana Dharma religions that teach the truth of what is, right? Before we get started on today's episode, let's take a second. If you're, seated, not driving, in your safe place, let's close our eyes and we're going to take a big deep breath in and let it out. We're going to take a double inhalation, a short and a long breath. Hold the breath, squeeze, vibrate the entire body. Double exhale. Release, relax. We're going to do that 2 more times. Double inhale. Squeeze, vibrate with willpower. Every single muscle. Double exhale. Release, relax. 1 last time. Double inhale. Hold the breath, squeeze. Feel every single molecule in your body vibrating with energy, with willpower. Double exhale. Release, relax. Feel that calmness, that vibration, that tranquility that you've connected with. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Sanatana Dharma. And what is it? In one of our earlier episodes, we spoke about Taekwondo, the history of Taekwondo, how it was created. And the system of Taekwondo was actually created based off of Sanatana Dharma. It took the yin yang, and there's 8 symbols around the yin yang that create the Dharma wheel. That system was then used to create all of the forms that you would then step through yin and yang and then come to the center to know the self. At the center of the Dharma wheel, you're going to find the symbol which is called the Sam Taeguk, where the yin yang, which is the Taeguk, is, opposition, creating balance. The Sam Taeguk is harmony. And in Sanatana Dharma, we are taught that we must follow our passion, right? Our excitement in the pursuit for joy, for happiness, to rid suffering, right? So in our lives, we pursue not being in pain, not suffering through this life, because it's hard living as a physical entity. And what we end up finding is that the things that we think are actually bringing us happiness, those aren't actually those elements that are truly, satisfying us. Like, for example, you eat a lot. You get this really good feeling, and then all of a sudden you get maybe too full, or then maybe eventually it goes away. Some people go out drinking. They have a great time and then they wake up the next morning feeling like crap. You have sex, for example. You have this big giant release and then you're just back to exactly where you were afterwards. You might have this moment of bliss and then you return back to where you were. And then you're faced with yourself. When you sit in your room at night before you go to bed or you're off somewhere alone, you have to sit with yourself. You're having to deal with your mind, your emotions, and your energy. And through life, we find that we have to first establish that peace within and that calmness within, and then it radiates out. And through Sanatana Dharma, we find that bringing that awareness single-pointedly to the spot in the forehead, in realizing what we truly are. We're not this body, we're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions. We're the thing, observing it. We observe all of these realities, and when we identify with those emotions, those thoughts, these things happening around us, that's when the suffering comes. And when we can observe it, we realize that life is beautiful, that it's leading us closer to that union with the divine, with God, Sat, Chit Ananda, ever changing, ever new bliss. And when we approach life that way, even all the hardships can be looked at in a way that is actually guiding us closer to our true selves. And applying that wisdom through meditation, through the practices that we're talking about in this podcast is how we get there, right? So using martial arts example for Taekwondo, you learn how to take care of your body, how to do stretching, how to bring the awareness to each individual muscle and to strengthen it and use it. And then we have to add the other side, the meditation portion, the bringing the awareness inside of the body, right? So we feel the energy coming from the ground through the body all the way to the fist as we deliver a strike. But we must also feel the input of energy coming in through the medulla oblongata, as our master guru Paramahansa Yogananda teaches, that then goes throughout our whole body, right? We have this little infinite amount of energy that we can tap into, that we can then exert out here through willpower, but it requires awareness, it requires control, discipline, surrender, love, and so many other aspects that, you know, we have to get to the point where we realize all these things that we're doing, you know, making all this money, going out and go to the beach and all the stuff, that we have to really look in first, right? And when we realize that we got to take care of the internal stuff, right? That hurt in the heart from the stuff we lost, the shame from the things we've done, the guilt, right? The lies we tell ourselves, and the illusion that this is all there is. Like physics tells us that the physical world is literally a small piece of the giant pie of what actually is existence. And if you think about the spectrum of light, we can see less than 1% of what actually is around us. So when we limit our reality to what we're just experiencing here, we're limiting ourselves. And that's really the core of the teaching, is we are limiting ourselves through identifying with that existence rather than setting ourselves free by looking within to find out what we truly are. And the more we meditate, the more we want to meditate, and the more we connect with that divine energy. And you start to connect with calmness, with light, and it gets deeper to the point where you don't want to do anything else. And you want to go further into yourself to know what you are, right? To know who you are, to know what that who is. And in reality, we're all one. We're all one giant energy that works together. But at the same time, we have this individuality. Every single molecule, as our guru teaches us, has that individual aspect. And it retains that, especially when we reach that enlightened state, that samadhi state. We can retain that individuality while merging with the divine. If you look at basically any major religion in the world, they're basically all saying the same thing. You have like Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, and you know, there's many more religions, but they're all basically saying the same thing, that everything's one, and we need to find that oneness inside and not out here, right? And through following our passions, right? When we get excited about something, let's say for me, for example, I love blowing glass, I love training martial arts. I get excited to do those things, and I enjoy doing those things. They're not work for me. I would do them over going out and doing other things because I truly enjoy doing them. And one of those things has now become meditation for me. Where meditation used to be hard, I am now excited to meditate. I want to meditate so much that I get to the point where like I don't want to do all the other things because I want to get more time to meditate. So I end up having a longer, practice that I connect deeper with myself, that I'm passionate about. And that want is what drives us, right? So when we follow our passion, we either find that one, we're not going to be fully satisfied by that thing, or two, we accomplish it, we're satisfied, and then we want to do something else. We get excited about something else. But look at all the things around in the world. There's so much to do. There's so much to experience. Are you ever going to find satisfaction in all of these different things? You know, like you can accomplish endless things in the world, but if you don't look within, you're not going to be really satisfied. And we walk around with that. Wherever we go, we carry that passion. We carry those feelings. And think about that. Like, you can close your eyes right now, and you're still going to feel, and you're still going to think the exact same things that you were thinking before. Even though you're not receiving all of this visual data, you can put headphones on to not hear the outside world. You're still going to be receiving all of that information, right? In here. You're still going to get the thoughts coming in as a stream. Your brain is essentially an antenna that has been tuned to a specific frequency. And the more you tune it to a higher frequency, higher thoughts come in, higher passions, higher wants and desires, until we get to the point where we want to know God. We want to know the truth of where we come from. And that's, in very short, brief version, what the path of Sanatana Dharma is. That through our suffering, we come back to the truth. We come back to ourselves, which we find we are one with everything. We are one with God. And the only separation that comes is the ego in identifying that I'm this body. But I'm not this body. I can control it. I can move it. The energy inside directs all of that. The energy, right? So Bruce Lee used to teach, become water, my friends, because water can take any shape in any vessel. I'm going to take it a step further and say, become energy, because the energy is going to direct everything, right? You can literally become anything. Water is still limited to water. It can freeze, but if you boil it, it's going to steam, and then it's going to dissipate everywhere around you, right? But if you have energy, everything is made of energy. The energy is creating the matter. When we know that the language of this universe, science, is proving those ancient teachings to be true, literally, what do? We have to look deeper within ourselves and try to find that here rather than out here. That's what it's all been saying. The speed limit of the universe is light, according to Einstein. You can't go faster than the speed of light. And it takes infinite energy, all of the energy in the entire universe, to break the speed limit of light. Our Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, teaches the exact same principles about attaining self-realization. That in order to attain that self-realization, we must bring all of ourselves, all of the light that is us, which is everything in existence, single-pointedly to the single spot here in the forehead, the third eye, which is the spot of self-realization. So we have science literally saying it takes all of that energy to break that speed of light, right? And we have our Guru saying it takes all of the energy coming to one spot to reach self-realization. So if you take those two teachings and you apply them together, they say the exact same thing in just different ways, right? And in ancient traditions, Sanatana Dharma was applied culturally. If you look at our system of government, of existing today, we have a system that puts children and society through a box. We have schools that were made to produce good workers for an industrial era to go to factories to work for CEOs. And then you have the rich, the higher elite, as we call them, right? Elite what? Like they know how to work money, but not all of the elites know all of the truths, right? They control the system through money, through lobbying, through government and all their businesses. But what we end up finding is that it becomes difficult for each individual to follow their true passion. If you want to become an artist, why do you think people say starving artists? Because it's so difficult to actually become an artist because it's not very prized. It's not very, art is one of the most important things in the world, but do we really value it for what art truly is? That freedom of expression? I don't think so. And what we end up finding is a lot of people, they go throughout their lives just making money, just to have a calm, peaceful life, and to have kids and buy a house, and that's the formula for success. And then look around. Right now, a lot of people can't buy houses. A lot of people are in poverty. There's people going hungry. There's also the other extreme. You have multi-billionaires, 100 billionaires, like hundreds of billions of dollars with multiple mega yachts. The extreme is so grand that, they are able to do whatever they want. But in essence, the working class has become almost like a slave class. And that creates a system that doesn't allow for people to follow their passion, right? So we have a lot of suffering. We have a lot of people questioning what they're doing with their life and what we're going to do in the world. If you look at the ancient caste system, I'm not talking about what, the untouchables and all this stuff that's currently in India. The ancient caste system, you could have a warrior had a kid, and that kid, let's say he wanted to become a sage or a farmer, to have the ability to allow every single person to follow their passion and allow them to do it, right? Buddha, for example, was born a prince, learned all of the knowledge, and this is honestly one of the biggest inspirations for our academy in teaching all of these truths. When we learn spirituality, when we learn things about the physical world, when we learn about, martial arts, order, how to care for others, how to care for ourselves, we get a different understanding of the world. And he got to the point where he saw the suffering of the people, and he suffered because he saw their suffering. And through the path of Buddha, he sacrificed his body in not eating, in really long meditations, and he found that still wasn't the way. So he went super deep into his meditation, into himself, until he brought all of that light to one spot and breached that threshold that allowed Buddha to see the truth. And then there it was. There was the truth. There was the Buddha, right? And that similar things happened with other enlightened masters throughout their journey. And then they came back, and you have Jesus, you have Paramahansa Yogananda, you have Muhammad, the prophet, and all of these beautiful beings who came to teach us that we get lost in this physical matter and we forget the subtleties, right? We forget the little things. And when we're learning martial arts, you learn these techniques, these really big movements. As you start refining, you start to pay attention to the small details that at first you can't teach the small details because the person doesn't have the awareness to even perceive that little detail. Eventually, your brain grows in perception to be able to take in that information and actually do something with it. And that's the same application with meditation. The more you do it, the more you perceive, the more subtleties that you can take in. And then you can apply more truths, and then you can go deeper and deeper and deeper until you get to this point where, oh, it's not a maybe anymore. I've experienced the truth. I'm now living the truth, right? And then when we experience that door of limitation opens and we're like, whoa, this is a whole new world of possibilities that I didn't even know was possible, that I had closed myself off into, right? So through living our life, through suffering, if we approach it the right way, from the right perspective, we can take those lessons and apply them in our life so that we can get to the point we're not suffering anymore. By knowing that what we were going for before, or like the desires that we wanted, they were maybe tainted, that they weren't going to bring us happiness. Now, that doesn't mean like you get this from a lot of people, that, oh, you're not going to be happy doing things, and you're not going to be motivated doing things. It's the exact opposite. If you think about what, connecting with that divinity does, it brings joy. That's what Sat Chit Ananda is. Ever new bliss. In every moment, we find that joy by being here, by connecting with that depth of the truth, right? So in every experience, we find the joy and we find the happiness. That is the superpower. I remember it was very recently, I got my Kriya Yoga initiation in Connecticut through Ananda Village. It was Nayaswami Jaya was giving a speech, and he spoke about this, where he was giving a talk, and some people in the crowd asked him, it's like, what are your superpowers? And he was like, I don't know if I have any superpowers. But then he thought about it. He was like, no, I have the choice to be happy all the time. Can you do that? And that's what he asked them. Not many people can. We often get stricken by all these emotions, these grief and all these things, and we let them overcome us. And they become this mood, and then they become depression, and then they become a whole way of living and way of thinking that then we carry and we spread out to other people, and it becomes how we talk to ourselves and we talk to others. But when we look at ourselves and we detach from the body, we detach from all of this stuff, we can see the truth. We can see that all of these experiences are only teaching us. And that takes a really grand perspective to see that. Because it's hard, because suffering is hard, pain is difficult. But the more that we see, the more we experience that truth, the more evident it becomes. Yeah. So it's a hard journey, but it's one that we signed up for. And we're here to learn that lesson. Because, I don't want to suffer. I know y'all don't want to suffer. And I know everyone loves being happy and everyone loves joy. So why don't we create a world where everyone has the ability to attain that, where everyone has the knowledge and the capability to get there, right? But it's kind of heading there right now if you think about it, right? We were so lost in this illusion for so long that, look at the world. People are starting to suffer. People are starting to wake up because they're suffering, and they're starting to realize, oh, we don't have to do it this way. Oh, it can be different. And that's a big lesson. That is huge, because that in itself opens the door for a new possibility, a new way of living. But the thing is, right now, a lot of people don't know the answer of what that new way of living is. They don't know the possibility. And that's part of the education in learning what's possible and learning how to get there. Meditation at first is really hard. It's hard. It was hard for me. It's hard for everybody I've ever talked to when they first started it, unless you're just like a friggin' enlightened master just came in and, incarnated it as your well-known body. But the more you do it, literally, it's just like training. If I haven't worked out for 3 months, I'm gonna get weak, and I go to do my 50 push-ups. I might not even get 20 because it's been so long, So if you try to meditate for an hour and you've never meditated, you mean in the last 5 minutes because your mind isn't used to it. So you're training your neural pathways, right? You're creating neuroplasticity. The more you do something, the better your brain gets to be at it. That's just how our entire system here was created. So the more practice and effort we put into something, the better we're going to get at it. Until we understand, until we correlate maybe that difficulty and that hardship to actually the fruit that you get from it. And that's kind of how I approach my martial arts training. Because it's tough. Doing high intensity interval training, doing cardio, doing strength training, it's a load on your body. But if you connect it that I'm going to do this to train my body and then I'm going to get this in the end and I'm going to be better for it, I enjoy my training now. It's hard. It's hard to get started, but as soon as I do it, I feel this rush of energy. And then when I'm done, I get this rush of great feeling. All of the stress, all of the emotion that I was feeling is gone. And I enter into the state of peace. And then what? I go and meditate and I take it even further and I establish that peace twice a day and I go and I share it with other people. And that's all I can do is focus on me, follow my passion, and spread my light. Because in the end, we only control ourselves. So Sanatana Dharma is the truth. It's not a religion. It's a path that the masters teach, that discerns all of these religious rituals into a way of life that we can apply to free ourselves from the prison that we have created for ourselves by identifying with the ego. And when we step back and we look at all the thoughts and we observe it, we see that they're only a tiny little small ball in the grand scheme of infinite possibility. Infinite possibility. So be unlimited. Unlock yourself by looking within. And that's another good point here. That Taekwondo nowadays is kind of seen as like a washed out kind of flippy floppy useless art, because it's been watered down by the Olympics, by point sparring. It's going to happen to jiu-jitsu. It's going to happen to basically any art that becomes a sport. I don't train Taekwondo like that. I train Taekwondo in a self-defense, very rooted aspect that has now transformed into literally Sanatana Dharma. I train Taekwondo to prepare my body, to know myself, to advance my awareness of my body, of the control of this vessel that then can align my body to receive more intuitive instructions from my true self, rather than being guided by the identification with my emotions, my fears, and all of the limitations that are imposed by my ego, right? So that's what Taekwondo really is. That's how martial arts was spread from India throughout the entire East Asian continent. That's like, all martial arts lead you there if you really look hard enough, at least in East Asia. Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Karate, Taekwondo, Kung Fu, they all speak of Qi. I don't know about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because like they got taken, I'm talking about like traditional Jiu-Jitsu. You go to Japan, Qi, Ki, all these different terms that essentially are talking about the energy, the divine energy, the light within. When you connect to that, crazy things are possible. Like you can jump over, I jumped over a bag that was taller than me. I lifted my legs, cleared it. I looked back, I was like, I did that. I never thought I could do that, but I did it because I let go of that limitation of myself. I started doing kicks I never thought I'd be possible. 540 spinning hook kick, you know? Just recently I threw my staff and did a spinning hook kick, caught it, landed it, swung it, right? Because I'm not limiting myself by what I think I can do. I'm going out there, trying it, pursuing it, and achieving it because I know I can. And that's how we have to approach getting to know who we really are. Once we're tired of pursuing things out here, once we've realized we're not going to be truly happy by pursuing anything out here, right? We have work to do here, right? We need to be nice to other people. We have to make money in order to live. We need to eat healthy, you know, we need to take care of our bodies. We need to follow our passions. But none of those things are what's truly going to bring us happiness. It's going to be finding us, and then we're going to radiate that happiness out. So it starts in here, and then it goes out. So find you by looking in. And if there's too much, do something to get all of that out. What I mean is, like, if you're emotional, if you're in your head, go to the gym, sit down, do some breath work, meditate, do yoga, drink some water, go to sleep, clean your room, do all the things that you know are beneficial to you to get out of that space, and then you can connect, and then you can follow your passion. And that's really like the essence of what Sanatana Dharma is, right? There's of course like many details, many practices that we can apply, many teachings, but in essence it is a path of truth that leads us to ourselves, that leads us to unity with all, so that we can reverberate and help each other reach that same spot. So as you listen to this, look at yourself, because this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm applying it. What have I done in my life? What have you done in your life that you regret? Learn from it. Change. What have you done in your life that you enjoyed, that you're passionate about? Learn from it and grow. But we can't be complacent about our life experiences. We can't just say, I'm gonna do things could just, you know, like, it's like watching a movie. When you're sitting there and you're watching the movie and you get so caught up in the story that you forget you're watching a movie. You start crying and get emotional. That's how we are in our bodies. We forget we're this divine energy, that we're one with all. And when we start identifying with this body, so let's wake up by looking within. And by doing that, we live by example that then spreads that truth out to others, right? So if you have any questions, drop a comment, give a follow to support the video. And if you want to find out more about myself or our school, check out farahacademy.com. We're going to be writing articles on there, basically about what you just read here. And our podcast from here on out is basically going to be transforming into more talks. I'm going to be bringing in some guests to talk about their experiences, their teachings. And, you know, it's really important that we apply the truths. We don't just listen, but we do. We do. Because it's getting to the point in the world that if we are just looking and we're not applying, we're going to suffer more. So let's stand up within ourselves, and then we can stand up out here. Be with love, be with light, and spread it, because that calmness is always there. As our guru says, it's only us that needs to connect with it.